If I had to start my clothing brand all over again, here's exactly what I'd do differently. No fluff, just hard lessons that took years to learn and cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. Inside of this video, you're gonna learn things to avoid, what to prioritize, and what actually builds a brand that lasts. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Miller McCoy. I'm the CEO and founder of Limitless MFG, as well as several clothing brands in the space. I've worked with over 2,000 brands over the last 4 to 5 years now, including numerous celebrities, from styling them in my own lines to full-on building brands for many different names in the space, and being featured in Forbes, Inc. 5000, best and brightest companies to work with here in Southern California. The list goes on and on. But enough about me. Let's get into this. Working in the space for a little while and being able to be behind some of these larger brands and stuff like that I've worked with, I've seen a lot of things go really well, and I've seen a lot of things go really wrong. So I want to just kind of break them down for you. I've got about 7 points here that I'm going to go over for you. So if you have 10 minutes, 20 minutes or so, sit down, grab a drink, take some notes, and let's figure this out. The first thing that I want to go over, mistake number one, is going to be starting with too many SKUs. And what I mean by that, let's first define a SKU. Because some places and some people have different definitions for it. Some people might think it's every size of every product that you're doing. But for us, we're just going to treat that as different designs and different pieces. So if you have one design, say this logo right here on a hat, right? And I take this logo and I also put it on a shirt. That's now two designs, two SKUs. It's same design, sure, but it's two SKUs, right? So I've seen a lot of people try to come out the gate with a whole collection, right? And they've got socks, and they've got shorts, and they've got hats, and they've got hoodies, and they've got tees, and they've got two different versions of tees, and then two colors of each of those tees, and they got a hoodie, and all this sort of stuff. You're just overcomplicating things, and you haven't even shown yourself or shown the audience that you have a proven winnable product yet. So you're overspending, you're overextending, and then when you're actually running your marketing campaigns for all of these things, it's going to be very hard to target and dial in that one winning product. Does that make sense? Once you have a winning product, I strongly encourage people to then expand off of it. So say this text here ends up winning big, and we sell a ton of these designs over time, right? We then take that design, right, and instead of putting it on a hat, I now put it on a t-shirt. How well does it sell? Okay, it sold really well. What if we did the same t-shirt just in a different color? Okay, that did really well. Now, what if I also take it and I manipulate the design just ever so slightly, and I use it as a sleeve hit on a hoodie, and I do it in embroidery instead of the screen print like I was doing on the t-shirts, right? Okay, did it do well? What was the performance metric, right? All this sort of stuff. Being able to take all that data and learn what it is about the things that are winning is going to be able to allow you to expand upon your product offering, to add new products, add more pieces, and be able to capitalize a little bit more and dive deeper into the overall space. You don't want to just come out the gate strong with, 5, 10 different items, right? I would think a lot of people, I would strongly suggest just starting with 1 or 2 items. And I know it might be hard to narrow it down, but in your head, you might be thinking, well, what if they don't want a t-shirt? They have too many t-shirts and they want a hoodie. Or what if they have too many hoodies? They don't want a hoodie. They want a pair of shorts, right? It doesn't really matter. Look in your closet. Look at all the t-shirts. Has that ever stopped you from going into the store or finding a cool t-shirt online and still buying it because you like the t-shirt? No, probably not, right? Now, sure, if you're shopping for very specific things, right, it might hold you back a little bit, but most of the time that people are being online consumers of brands, they're not caring that they already have, I already have a jacket, I already have a t-shirt, right, we all do, right? It's just the way that it works. So I wouldn't let that stop you and worry you. If you just build one killer product and you launch all in on it and you focus in on that product, that's where you're going to become profitable. If you overextend and you just sacrifice for a bunch of mediocre product across the whole entire thing, and I know you might be thinking, well, Miller, I know my stuff. I've studied this brand a lot. I've studied this game a lot. I know it's not going to be mediocre. Now, when I say mediocre, I mean a multiple of things, right? you might be thinking, well, I'm doing a cut and sew piece and I'm using terry cloth and it's really nice and it's high end and right, all this sort of stuff. Sure, right? The construction of the product might not be mediocre, right? But the longevity of the product, the depth of the product and how it relates to your brand and how it relates to your avatar and to your core consumers and all of that stuff, that might be mediocre. The storytelling behind the product might be mediocre. And so you want to avoid those things and focus on one winning product, one winning SKU, something that is so deep and resonates with your audience and your avatars and your core consumers that they have no reason but to say, yes, I need it, I want it, right? The one product drop model actually converts. But when you come out the gates with 40 different SKUs or even 5 different SKUs or whatever, it's going to be really hard to get those exciting conversions. You're not going to hit that sellout that everybody aims for, right? Which is something that we'll talk about in a future video. I don't think selling out is always the best option. And so what I would do instead is I'd start with one high quality shirt or hoodie. I would test the demand, and I would just continuously build on it until I've really found that winning product, whether it's that t-shirt, that hoodie, it's the design, it's the type of hoodie, the type of material, right? Continuously test it. And it's gonna take time and it's gonna cost me money. But that's what the first big thing that I would do coming out the gate. The second thing that I would do, and the second mistake that I made was ignoring brand community. And I only did this for a little bit when I was first starting, and then I realized that this is what was really going to actually allow me to kind of sell and move product, was kind of building the community side. I originally come from Iowa, small town, not a whole lot of this sort of fashion stuff is a part of it, right? The community aspect was so important because it would actually make consumers show up, purchase, and want to wear it, want to support it, want to rock it, show their friends, tell their friends about it. I used to really think that the product was good enough. If I had a cool design, everybody's gonna come, right? One of the biggest lies in the business world is the field of dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. Newsflash, hate to tell you, it's not how it works, right? In reality, people buy belief, identity, and culture. So if you don't have those 3 things, if you're not able to hit those 3 things and you just have a really cool design, that's awesome, that's phenomenal. I'm happy that you have a cool design. But if you don't have the belief behind the brand and the belief behind the design, or you don't have the identity behind the brand ecosystem and the identity of who your avatars are, and you don't have the culture that speaks to the consumers and speaks to, the folks that don't even know what your brand is, it's going to be really, really, really hard to continuously sell them and even find first-time customers, right? So you need content and storytelling, not just drops. You need something that is going to resonate with your consumers and resonate with your audience in ways that the standalone brands that they're consuming all day long through social media aren't. Something that is actually going to speak with them. Something that is actually going to drive emotions, whether it's fear, pain, joy. These are the emotions that you really want to focus on. And in fact, I would encourage, and I don't mean this in kind of a sinister way, but I would encourage you to really drive on the pain and the fear emotions at first. And after you've kind of driven those home, right, and that somebody can see that and understand, oh yeah, I lack this in my life. That is what I want in my life. Let me see what this is all about. And then once they dive in, that's where you start showing the joy. If they have this, right? So you catch their attention with the pain and the fear. You don't have this. This is what you want. This is what you need to become the person you are, right? And then capture them with the joy and show them the actual outcomes that your brand can provide for them. The next mistake that I would make would be hiring the wrong vendors. And this took me a long time to really figure out, right? Being from Iowa, we don't really have a large, the manufacturing space when it comes to fashion and apparel, at least at the time that I was there, was very small. And I knew how to use the internet and stuff like that, of course, but I just really wanted to be kind of hands-on with as much as I could and get that experience. So I was using just local printers and local shops and stuff like that to kind of help make my things, but I was kind of piecemealing everything together, and it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the best. It got the job done, don't get me wrong. But there was a lot of learning mistakes that came with it, right? From delays to cracked printing to just kind of, lack of a better term, ugly designs. And then, it came to a point where I was kind of getting to the point where I really wanted to start scaling the brand. And I thought that I had found through the internet a really reliable, good partner for what it was that I was envisioning and wanting to do. And I was trying to come out with one SKU every 2 weeks and just release it online, boom, 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 just kind of go rapid fire mode with it. And that vendor that I actually ended up kind of finding and linking up with and trying to make this happen was just not reliable. They were telling me that they'd help me with the fulfillment. They were telling me they'd make sure that every 2 weeks I'd be able to have the SKUs. And lo and behold, it just wasn't right. The SKUs came in and the shirts weren't the shirts that I ordered. The prints weren't looking looking the best. And there was really no fulfillment side. And then I, ended up having to break off that relationship, but it took, 3 to 6 months for me to actually end up getting to that point. And it was just very, it was detrimental to a lot of the stuff in my branding. I'm out here promoting and pushing it and, telling all the previous consumers, go support the new bi-weekly drops, all this sort of stuff. And it started to lose a lot of the consumers. It just wasn't healthy anymore. And it put me really in a rough position. So really finding a solid vendor, right? If you are starting to give bad product or a bad customer experience, you're going to lose the trust with all the consumers. And that's something that you never really want to find yourself in, because it's going to be harder to dig yourself out of that hole than just being, than starting correctly, right? What I do instead is I'd partner with a real trusted vendor that is able to help with all the back end sort of stuff, right? Not to toot my own horn, but like Limitless, right? But somebody that is able to actually understand from the design aspect, the conceptual aspect of all the logistics that go into running an actual e-commerce and fashion-based brand or product-based brand. I would partner with somebody that is able to help me with the customer service, help me with the fulfillment, help me with the graphic design, right? All of that sort of stuff. And yes, your margin at first is going to be a little bit slimmer, but it's going to allow you to take the fast road and just scale faster and faster and faster. And you'll be able to stomp out your competition. And by doing that, you're going to start getting the increase in your margin. You're going to start hitting those new volume metrics, which are going to help just overall grow and scale your brand. So that's the whole point on finding a reliable and good vendor. And it comes with a multiple steps. Also, if you have somebody that's kind of able to do everything all in one, it's going to shrink your overhead. You're not gonna have to go out and get all these extra teams. You're gonna have one point of communication. There's a lot of benefits to it. The fourth mistake would be no clear brand identity. Now, at first, I thought that my brand had a very clear identity. The brand I'm talking about here is called Human. This is one of the logos. Brand was called Human, and it was for humans, right? Now, it had a deeper message. It was all about equality, and I make products that all humans could wear. Everything was unisex, all this sort of stuff, right? And at first, I thought that was very good, and I thought it was niche and narrow and stuff like that. But, the more I start thinking about it, oh my gosh, it's not niche at all. It's literally called Humans, and it's for all humans, right? If you're a human, you can wear it. That gives the whole entire world and the whole entire population inside of that niche. There's no niche there, right? There's just no niche there. So being too broad, right? It's a lifestyle brand. That equals death. We're a brand with a real message. That equals death, right? You have to define what that message is. You have to define what lifestyle means to you, right? What type of brand are you? If you're too broad, it's not gonna work. It's gonna be really hard to scale out of that thing, right? You need a point of view and values. Who are you, right? What are you? Who are you for? Because you can't be for everybody. So what I do instead would be, one, write down a brand statement that is very clear, very, very visual. I understand it well. My consumers can find it easily and see if they fit with that brand statement as well. And they can describe it to their friends the same way that I can describe it, right? Know your target audience, know your avatars, know who this brand is for, right? Encourage those people to consume it. And somebody who's not your like avatar, if you want that, that $20 from the sale or whatever, I would encourage you not to actually encourage somebody who's not your right avatar to make the purchase. Now, if they're going to purchase, great, they're going to purchase. But I would definitely wouldn't shy them away from the sale. But I would be very conscious about who you're actually marketing and promoting your brand to, and making sure that you are sending them into the right direction and you're actually promoting it to the right folk. Additionally with that, once you have that actual avatar and you have that actual statement and you know who you're kind of targeting, make sure every design and every product and every SKU that you're releasing can speak and resonate with them, right? You're not designing for yourself because you think this looks cool. You're designing for your consumers because those are the people that are actually going to end up supporting you. The next thing, number 5, is treating your brand like a business. Just because you're posting on Instagram doesn't mean you're running a brand, right? Hate to break it to you. That's just one teeny tiny aspect of it. And there's a whole lot more that goes into it. So what do I mean by treating your brand like it's a business? Well, Miller, of course it's a business. I'm a brand owner, right? Okay, let's be real, right? You need margins, you need timelines, you need customer service, you need the back end, you need the front end, you need you need all the different departments, right? To actually treat this thing like a business, you have to think of yourself as the CEO of the brand, right? Being an owner of a brand might sound cool, right? Sounded a lot cooler in 2017 than it does in 2025, I'll tell you that much. But, you actually have to treat this thing like a real business, right? Use a budget tracker, set up fulfillment systems from day one, have actual SOPs and plans in place for yourself and for your audiences, right? Launch with email flows, use high-end product photography, get a real launch plan before you ever put a product out. And every product that you put out, find the things that worked successful with that first launch plan, double down on them, and fix the things that didn't go well, right? Learn from your mistakes and double down on the things that went well. And you know what? If nothing went well, try a new launch plan, right? Just to be blunt and straightforward, right? That's, So to recap everything here, what I'd do today if I was starting out from scratch, first, I'd build community and I'd give an experience and show the back the where the ideas are coming from. I'd show some sort of little mood board, even on my social media feed and to my friends and the people that I think are going to be my consumers, right? I'd start getting them in the mindset of thinking where I'm coming from. And even if I don't have a design yet, I'd show them the things that I'm working on, right? And where my ideas for this are coming from, right? So say I'm doing something that is horse field related, right? And I'd show a cool racetrack, a cool horse racing racetrack. And then I'd show a cool jockey. And then I'd show a cool saddle, right? Anything along those lines, something that I'm able to draw inspiration from, right? And then after that, I would think a little bit harder and I'd start with one solid and strong product. I wouldn't come out the gates with 3 or 4 pieces. I would just focus in on one solid product. And this is not a logo tee. It is not your logo tee, right? Nobody knows what your logo is yet. So a logo tee is out of the option, right? Don't even think that that's where this was gonna go. Get your logo tee out of there. Nobody knows what your brand is. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what your logo is yet. Get that out of here. New design, right? So I would start with one solid product that I think has real potential to actually become a winning SKU. The third thing that I would do is I'd partner with a backend, somebody like a Limitless, somebody like, I don't want to say their name because they were actually the people that ended up screwing up the other thing in the past, but find somebody that actually provides backend services for your e-commerce support and for your brand support, right? Partner with them. And then the next thing, I'd be clear on my identity. And this would also kind of tie into that community first, right? I would be very clear with who my avatars are, what it is that I'm building, what I'm building it for, who I'm building it for, the direction this thing's gonna go, right? I would be very clear about the identity of the brand. And finally, the last thing is I would launch like I'm a business and not just some sort of vibe, right? I'm not launching, oh, this is the vibe, right? No. I'm launching like a business. I'm taking this very strategic. I'm going to be very persistent about this. I'm going to have myself an SOP, and this is my job, and this is, right? Even if I already have a 9 to 5, right? This is going to be my 5 to 9, and this is what it looks like every day. This is the things that I do. This is what I work on. I don't have anything to do. Okay, well, let's sit down and let's think, right? How can I give myself something to do, right? Starting a brand is a business, and with a business, you're always going to have work. So if you're serious about building a brand that lasts and not just another merch drop or a t-shirt drop or something like that, I'd encourage you to go over to Limitless's website, click on our packages, check out our brand starter kit, our Limitless Launchpad, or our Creator Cash Machine. You can also just comment below. You can DM me. You can get in contact with me. And let's jam. Let's figure out what we can do together. Let's figure out how I can help. And lastly, most importantly, if you learned anything from this, I hope you did. I hope you got something valuable from this. Feel free to give me a subscribe. Give me a comment down below. Like this. Share this with some of your friends. I'm trying to build a little community here on YouTube. I enjoy doing these. I enjoy talking to the camera. So thank you guys.